What's up, guys? It's Benny. Just a reminder that the more things change, the more they stay the same, and time is a flat circle. Iran is bombing American bases right now in the Mideast, okay? I'm not trying to take this glib or lightly, but I do want to give some historic context to it. First, the news. Pray for our troops as Iran fires missiles at 2 air bases in retaliation for nuclear site bombing. Iran strikes back. Let's read what's happening. Iran has launched 10 missiles at the United States' biggest air base in the Mideast, in Qatar. They've also launched missiles into Iraq, to American bases there, in retaliation for Trump's bombing of their nuclear facilities this past weekend. Aerial defenses were activated shortly after a credible threat was issued at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which hosts 10,000 U.S. troops, hundreds of aircraft, strategic bombers, and so on. U.S. bases in Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain also sounded raid sirens. President Trump has convened his National Security Council at the White House. President Trump dropped 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs on the nuclear facility on Saturday night. Obviously, this is something that we don't want to happen. We don't want the escalation here. Iranian media confirmed the operation against U.S. military assets in the region were underway. We didn't begin this war. We didn't ask for it. But we won't let aggression against Iran go unanswered. Okay. I got thoughts on this, ladies and gentlemen. This is apparently the footage of the American base getting attacked. You could see like the small explosion here. That's what people are saying. That's like the actual impact site you can see here in the skies over Qatar. The air defenses of Qatar being activated to some, with just some yachts in the background and some house music. Just classic stuff. Just classic like hanging out in the Mideast stuff. Wild scenes, it really is. So there you go. 10 missiles been reported. Shelter in place has been issued for U.S. citizens in Qatar after an Iranian attack. This is the forward headquarters for CENTCOM. 10,000 American personnel. Okay. And also a smoke detector beep. So, there's your cultural enrichment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some news on this attack, however. That this imminent attack and the explosions, obviously, some of the missiles landed, right? You can see the air defenses here. Some of these, that there have been, thank God, no casualties, no fatalities, and no real damage. Hearing reports of explosions in Qatar, other missiles suggest they've been launched at American troops in Qatar and then also in Iraq. Prediction. Iran will fire missiles into empty U.S. base in Qatar after pre-approval of the exact time and location of the attack with the U.S. to prevent any American injury. Then they will declare this victory a strong response. Well, guess what? We actually have historic context for all of this, and we're going to get to even more information as it is breaking of this attack. This is a dude named Qasem Soleimani, all right? He's a general. He was the most powerful general in all of Iran. He was in charge of this very powerful force called the Quds Force. And he's a real scumbag, and this guy was not a good man. He was a very bad person. And if you know a GWAT veteran who was maimed or got his Humvee blown up, arm or leg or eyeball blown out, or had one of his friends or somebody, one of his teammates put into the sand, there, it was probably because this jackass, dude's a demon. The point is that this guy was in charge of killing as many Americans in the Mideast as possible. He's a bad person. And he got yeeted by President Trump. So badly, in fact, that you could see his famous little ring on his bloody, dismembered finger that was plucked out of the soil. Qasem Soleimani got sent straight to Jesus by President Trump. And Iran did the exact same thing. In order to save face, it is a dictatorial regime. In order to save face, they had to launch a couple of weapons. And the background on that is that they literally called America and told us that that's what they were going to do. They're going to launch some weapons. And I think that's what's happening here. Ballistic missiles are confirmed. No indication of impact at this point. Ladies and gentlemen, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin getting their special socks out together in the shower. Telegraphed and deployed to give Tehran an escalation off-ramp. U.S. won't need to respond. This was probably agreed upon behind closed doors. That's what everybody is saying. U.S. military facilities in the Mideast. I actually, goodness gracious, didn't know we had so many facilities in the Mideast. Look at all of them. There's an airbase for Red, naval facility for the Anchor, outpost and radar facility. So, like, everywhere. Okay. So, like, all of the Mideast except for Iran. Got it. Come on, Iran. There's Bucky. We got Bucky's and Wawa waiting for you. You know, think about it. Think about it, Iran. Have you ever had stuffed crust pizza? Think about it. Do you even understand what an all-you-can-eat Golden Corral buffet is, Iran? Come on. No U.S. casualties. Pray. The UAE has closed their airspace. We have no indication of impact at this point, according to Fox News. They said nobody has been hurt. Donald Trump is in the Situation Room. They knew this was happening. He's in the Situation Room monitoring everything with his officials. This was clearly one of those like pre-agreed upon strikes. That's what I would suggest. Qatar condemns Iranian attacks on Qatar. Good job. And now Qatar, relevant authorities can announce temporary suspension of air traffic, country's airspace, for safety, citizens, and visitors. So they suspended air traffic, and the Ministry of Defense says, the Ministry of Defense announced Qatari air defenses successfully intercepted missile attack targeting the U.S. airbase. Thanks to God, the vigilance of the armed forces, and the precautionary measures taken, the incident did not result in any deaths or injuries. The ministry reiterated that the airspace territory of the state of Qatar safe, and that Qatar armed forces are always ready to deal with any threat. The Ministry of Defense advises citizens to seek guidance on local. This is what's going on. That's what's going on right there. Yeah. This is the off ramp. Hopefully, prayerfully, pray for our troops. And this is what's going on right now. Right. So pray for de-escalation on this front. And that this is just simply a, pretty flaccid show of force. And that what we're getting here is just round two. Time is a flat circle. There's nothing new under the sun. This is exactly what happened in Trump term 1 when Trump yeeted their boy. And Trump just yeeted their nuclear program. So time to chill. Certainly what we're hoping for, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the report.
Those Patriot missiles trying to intercept those ballistic missiles. We have no indications of impact at this point. As you and I discussed before, there were satellite images from last week of Al Udeid, where the U.S. normally has a large number of transport planes, refueling planes, that those tarmacs had been emptied of those warplanes. But Al Udeid normally would have 10,000 U.S. troops based there.
Oh, wow. So they emptied all the warplanes. They emptied everything at the base. They took it all away because they knew it was coming.
There had been warnings to U.S. embassy staff to shelter in place and at other embassies across Doha. We also now are learning that the airspace over UAE, the United Arab Emirates, where the United States military has another large military base, that airspace has been closed. And we also understand there could be an imminent threat to U.S. troops and personnel at bases in Iraq. That, if you remember, just 5 years ago, Iran fired ballistic missiles, dozens of them at U.S. troops in the wake of Qasem Soleimani's killing. So a lot of intelligence.
But nothing happened, right? It's like a show of force. Get a load of this breaking on my timeline right this very seconds ago. Iran appears to have coordinated its response as to not to drag the United States more directly into the fight. Uh-oh. Look at that. Iranian state TV. Breaking. Iran coordinated the attacks on the American air bases in Qatar with Qatari officials and gave advance notice of the attacks to minimize casualties, according to 3 Iranian officials familiar with the plans. Oh, bye. So the Iranian officials are talking with the New York Times. Got it. They're probably the publisher of the New York Times at this point. Iran reportedly gave advance notice of its attacks on airbase to minimize casualties. Iran gave a 12-hour heads up before launching their missile attack on U.S. bases in Qatar. No casualties are expected. The strike involves 6 missiles aimed at symbolic targets, signaling the response without any expectations of matching the scale, damage, suffering. Okay, no casualties, no damage. Praise God. All eyes on Bahrain. Attack is ongoing. Good. All right. Good job. Good job, everyone. Iran coordinated the attacks on the American airbase in Qatar. There it is. This is directly from the New York Times. Iranian officials familiar with the plans. The officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back the U.S. at the same time carry out the way that it allowed an exit ramp they described as similar strategy to 2020, when Iran gave Iraq a heads up before firing ballistic missiles at American targets after the assassination of its top general. Well, there you go. Okay. Please give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Peace through strength and a little belligerence. Whatever. Okay? I'm down with it. This is what, let's get back to the business of this country. That's what people voted for. We are America first. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe for more peace and for solving our own problems. Okay? And protecting our own borders. See ya.